All right, we'll call to order South Fayette Township Planning Commission, January 22, 2026 to order, and we'll start with a roll call, please.
Iagnemma,
Here.
Doug Kaine,
Here.
Joseph Johnson,
Here.
Jamey Noland,
Here.
Danny Cerrone,
Here.
and also Jason Paulovich,
Here.
and Chris Seymour.
Stand for the pledge, please. All right, we'll go for the approval of the minutes from the December 18, 2025 meeting. Does anybody have questions or comments on the minutes? Need a motion to approve the minutes, please?
Second.
A motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have no old business. New business A. Review and discuss S09 2025 South Fayette Township School District Preliminary and Final Minor Subdivision Consolidation Application, parcels 327E1 and 404C1. And again, this is the consolidation of two parcels into one.
Yes, Tom. As you recall from recent months' planning commission meetings, the primary school project had a property line that was going to be intrusive to the proposed building there. So there was either going to be a lot line revision or a consolidation to remedy that. And the applicant and their consultant have chosen to consolidate the entirety of the campus parcels. We did provide a review letter dated January the 15th. We had a few minor comments within there. The only one of real note that I did want to bring up was that the ordinance does require that you provide spot elevations for existing buildings and structures. These are existing nonconformities, and it's really not a relevant matter to this application. The applicant did request a modification to that item. And I wanted to say, John, if you want to go the modification route, that's fine. If you simply want to put spot elevations from Google Earth or something and note that's fine as well. But either way, it's a relatively easy comment to address. Sure. And as I noted, it has no bearing on this plan whatsoever. So, I mean, if the Planning Commission is okay with moving this forward with the modification being approved, we can go that route. Outside of that, the county had a few minor comments required, a deed required notification clause to be put on there, and they noted one of the setback items that we had also noted. The applicant has addressed all these items, and they've revised the plan accordingly.
What was the setback item?
The setback item is 215.13L6. It's comment number 3 under the saldo of our letter.
Anybody have anything on this? All right, so can we get a motion to approve the recommendation of consolidation of those two parcels?
I'll make a motion to approve S-09-2025 South Fayette Township School District Preliminary and Final Minor Subdivision Consolidation Application. In accordance with the GTE review letter dated 1/15/26 and included the modification for the spot elevation of existing buildings.
All right.
Second.
Motion by Doug, second by Jamey. Questions or comments?
No comment on the setback needed for the motion. Just make sure. Okay.
Yep. We're good. So we got a motion and a second. No questions or comments. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll go to new business B, review and discuss the attached ordinance amending and restating various sections in chapter 240 zoning. So I saw we got this in our packet. It was posted on the agenda. Is the printout the same as the one, is this printout the same as the one that was provided in the agenda online, I assume?
I believe so.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't think it's changed at all.
all right. And are you gonna kind of review this? What's,
I thought I'd give you guys kind of a high level overview,
yeah, good.
let you into what was going, like what the genesis was for the ordinance, let you hear about the process that we've taken it through, what's still in front of us, and then, you know, kind of leave it up to you guys how you want to discuss it or move it forward. But ultimately, you know, this ordinance change also includes a change to the zoning map. And it's kind of the hammer that hits a bunch of nails, if you will. It attempts to do multiple things. I'll give you kind of a listing of what we're looking to accomplish, and then we'll kind of dive into each of those four things. But we started down this road by just wanting to evaluate the PED zoning district that showed up in our comp plan and amongst discussions with the board and probably with discussions you guys were involved with when we were going through the comp plan of really thinking about maybe wanting to expand that district. You know, the Southern Beltway completion made us think that there was probably an opportunity for some parcels over in that area to maybe change zoning from R1 to PED. So when we looked at parcels in that vicinity, we really gave thought to highway access. And after a lot of back and forth, we really landed on only a very small amount of additional property is being brought into the PED or recommended to be brought in. It's kind of tough to point out, but the parcel that's being added is right where Abby's cursor is there. That's right off the Southern Beltway. You might know it as the paintball property, traditionally zoned R1. Really good access to the Southern Beltway, and just thinking that would probably benefit from the PED zoning. So as far as changes to the zoning district, we are recommending that we increase the size of the PED to add that one parcel. Kind of secondly, what we're looking to do here is to create definitions and regulations for data centers in the township. We know there's been a lot of discussion about the potential for such facilities in the region. We kind of looked internally and realized that we had nothing that addressed anything along those lines in the PED. So this ordinance attempts to provide some definitions for data centers. We did engage a consulting firm, same group that helped us with our comp plan, HRG, to help us through this process. I should point out. So this kind of started with looking to what started as looking to implement components of the comp plan with the board. We engaged a consultant and started kind of maybe adding some additional things to that. Data center is something that's added into that PED. We've included definitions for PED. We break it into small, medium, and large definitions. Those distinctions of size are based on square footage. 50,000 or less than 50,000 for a small, less than 500,000, between 50 and 500 for a medium, and over 500 for a large. Also, with those different size requirements comes minimum acreage that would go with those. I think the small has a minimum acreage of 10 acres, medium 50 acres, and large 300 acres. So again, because we had nothing on our books for data centers, we thought it was important to identify where they could go, thinking in the PED that's meant to encourage, you know, kind of campus style developments or larger types of developments. And then within that, break it into small, medium, and larges. The other important component of the data center is we've introduced regulations to data centers, meaning anyone that would submit for that type of use would have to agree to several things. First, they'd have to submit a master plan that would show their overall development, how it's laid out and how it sits. They would have to submit 5 studies to the township: a noise study, a water usage calculation study, an emergency response plan, an environmental impact statement, and a traffic impact study. So with the PED related to data centers, we've included them as a permitted use with the caveat that they must accomplish those things mentioned in their master plan, those regulations or whatnot, and identified the various sizes where they could go. In addition to those 2 things, we also made a small tweak to the R1 zoning district. Really, just this is related to the minimum lot width for new construction housing. There was some discussion amongst the board of wanting to, in the remaining zoning R1 zoning districts, of looking to encourage larger lots. One way to do that without being too over the top or too dramatic was to increase that lot width size. So this tweaks it from previously there was 110-foot minimum lot width to 125. So that's the only change to the R1 that's being proposed here, is 110 to 125 on the lot width. And then lastly, there is a rezoning for parcels that are in Sturgeon. We had some dialogue with property owners in Sturgeon who were looking, they owned several parcels and they were looking to consolidate some residential lots to build one residential home. What we found is the parcel that's kind of highlighted in red in front of you there is currently zoned C1. So its current zoning would be reflected by a green color, which is adjacent to it. Even though that neighborhood's completely built out, 100% residential, it's zoned in according to our zoning map as C1. Not entirely sure why. I mean, Hunter's Pizza and some other things are over that way, but maybe in an attempt to avoid spot zoning, the township created that whole district that's commercial. So as it sits now, both that green and the area outlined in red are C1. We're looking to change that area outlined in red from C1 to R4, and that would just allow it to kind of blend in with the character of that community. We think that likely was a mistake in some form or fashion. Really doesn't seem to want to develop commercially. There are residential homes on the bulk of those parcels now, so we're looking to clean that up through this effort. Kind of take a pause there. If you guys have any questions on this, I can get into a little bit about process afterwards, but yeah. So that kind of feeds into our process. So because this involves zoning and zoning map changes, we do have the obligation to notify property owners. So we've brought this to we've had public hearings on this. We brought it to a Board of Commissioners meeting. We're bringing it to the Planning Commission for recommendation. Properties will be posted and notified following this. We're thinking that once we get kind of an indication from the Planning Commission in terms of if there are recommendations for changes or anything along those lines, once we're comfortable with that version, we do have to send it to Allegheny County for review. There's a 45-day review process there before it would come back. So in the middle of all that, those properties would be notified, posted, and made aware of the public hearing that would take place before action would be taken. There is language that talks about enlarged buffer zones. You know, we all of these areas would have a kind of a 70% impervious coverage maximum. Um, so we think within that PED that's remaining, if you take a look at the parcels that are out there, they really kind of set up well for natural buffer areas, um, just how they're laid out geographically. Um, so we did take into account for buffer areas. Abby has pulled up kind of how we defined them, um, but we think we safeguarded those parcels because we aware that want to kind of protect them from um, the beauty of those areas is there's not a lot of dense residential around there. So with some buffer and some screening, they really are secluded, and we don't think would be too impactful to neighborhoods. Yeah, I think we were trying to be intentional with where we would see these being placed, what kind of parcels.
There were some other things included under permitted uses that were additions like dormitories, cryptocurrency, uh, distribution, asphalt concrete plant, truck terminal, just the whole list, and then community club, microbrewery. I would ask in the future, so I don't have to go back and look at the ordinance online, if you can have them underlined. That's how legislation is generally done. Is it's not just this. There's somewhere telling us what's being added. So I didn't have to go back and do that. But can you explain why all these other items were added as permitted uses too?
Yeah, I mean, I'll do my best. I mean, I believe that once we made a decision to add definitions for data centers and look at our ordinance, it gave us the opportunity of saying, well, what else is not? We don't want to do this multiple times. What are some other things that aren't included that we would see kind of being driven to the larger lots and the campus style developments in the PED. So working with the consultant, that they brought those recommendations to us, with the exception of microbrew. That was mine. But I think that was what the intent was, just to try to capture other things that were missing previously, or not accounted for previously, that maybe had a likelihood of coming in front of us at some point.
I mean, the ones that stand out for permitted uses for me are asphalt concrete plant, truck terminal. I'm guessing that's kind of more like an Amazon type distribution place, and a natural gas compressor station or processing station. So those are just a couple that I'm looking at them and just
Yeah.
kind of concerned for
Understood.
the area. So
Understood. Well, kind of our thought was tonight, I know, it's kind of a lot to digest and you haven't had a lot of time with it. So we wanted to, come this evening, present you with the draft, kind of let you know how we got here, and then ask that you maybe spend some time between now and our next meeting of, documenting your comments, questions, concerns, getting them to me and the township. And then, our plan would be to come back before you maybe next month and have answers to those questions, or kind of let you know, where we are with the process. Yeah.
I had a question similar to what he had asked regarding the format of this.
Yeah.
What's the best way for me to interpret this? Is everything here new, or is some of it replacing something? What's the easiest way for me to review this?
For the most part, what you see there is new language. However, there are things that say such a section shall be repealed and replaced in its entirety, and so the entire section will be there. And some of that's repeated, but some of it's new. And within those sections, it might be tough to kind of ascertain what's new and what's not. But if it doesn't have that kind of description before it, then it's new to our ordinance. Chris,
Okay.
did I get that right? I know you had a role in reviewing some of this. No.
Yeah, the only version I've seen was this most recent.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I wasn't sure how it.
yeah, Tom, sections like 3 and 4 are just amended. So there's going to be things that are currently in our code that it's already there, but then there's some new items that are added in.
How did you quickly know that 3 is amended?
Well, because it says it shall be amended, but then I was looking at our ordinance that's online, and then just comparing like,
Started to compare. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, usually what happens when you're amending legislation is if you're amending it, you underline the brand new spots, and that helps whoever's reviewing it in the future know that, okay, in 2026, these items are added for future.
We've seen that type of document in the past, and I'm assuming that eventually that's what this will
Yeah, we
become
can,
for it to be voted on.
Put it into that kind of formatting.
Yeah.
I could see where that would be easier to read or.
And then a couple other minor questions I had. You had mentioned some comments in the data center definitions, or maybe in the regulations around data centers about water usage. So you didn't mention anything about electricity. Is the water kind of called out mainly because of sewage capacity, and electricity is not something the township's involved in?
Yeah, that's a good question. In terms of,
Or is it in there, you just didn't mention it, like the
no, I don't
electricity?
think so. The part that's in front of you is what has to be included in the master plan. So it does say water usage calculation, but it does not mention anything about electricity per se. I can see where that would be important. I mean, if that's something that you think we should maybe have a look at, we can look to make an inclusion.
Don't know at this point. It just kind of caught my ear when you rattled off some of those things, and
Yeah,
because I mean, that's a huge
I know that's a hot
draw.
button issue, and
Yeah.
with rates and demands and whatnot. So it probably would be good to include if we could.
So maybe a little bit touchier comment would be on the sturgeon area.
Yeah.
Is there consideration to making that all the same instead of leaving those few green?
Well, the ones that are in green are commercially being used right now, right? So that's the pizza shop and
Yeah.
restaurant over there.
I still suspect there's going to be questions about that, to have just that. I mean,
Yeah.
you use the term spot zoning, so
It just didn't feel right to zone them R4 when they're currently being used and had been used and they feel like they're set up to continue to be non-residentially used.
yeah. And I think that's always what happens is you have, previous use, continued use.
Right.
So again, I was just asking if, when this was looked at, if it was considered, oh, we want this to all be residential, so that eventually over time, those would become residential also. Again, I've just seen this now.
Yeah.
I don't know what my comments or thoughts on it. I just wanted to know why, if there was any background on that. Okay. And I thought I had one
Yeah,
more.
I mean, that was a concern of ours, because obviously it does, just from like the map perspective, if you look at it, does seem to be a lot cleaner if it was all the same zoning. Just, it was hard to get around, its current use and how we juxtapose that.
Okay, good, thanks. Anybody else have anything? So.
The parcels
okay.
further north on Cecil Sturgeon, kind of
Yeah.
past the paintball location. There's a couple of parcels that are right between the Southern Beltway and Cecil Sturgeon. Why not include those? Do those owners not want to be in the PED? They're kind of just on the opposite side of the road from the PED.
Do you mean like the?
It's already residential. Okay.
Yeah, like the area that's white up there.
Yeah, kind of two parcels primarily.
I think those parcels, if I'm not mistaken, are residential and they're kind of front Cecil Rising versus Cecil Sturgeon. And when you get down there, I mean,
Okay.
highway access really still isn't there. Feels like we probably don't want to encourage, large campus style development there when it's single family now and kind of set up that way.
So this is new business B, right? Review and discuss attached ordinance amending and restating various sections. You had mentioned that you kind of wanted to introduce this. Is there any action we're looking for today?
Well, I think ultimately, we would like the board to make a recommendation up or down to the board before they're asked to vote on it. So, just thinking out loud, our idea was to put it in front of you, let you have some time with it. We gave you kind of a high level overview, but give you some time away from here to think through it and give us your questions. Come back to you next month, and if you bring us questions before that, we'll do our best to answer it. Or if you just want to continue the dialogue next month, if you're prepared at that point. I mean, if you're prepared now, certainly don't want to hold you back. But I think we're wanting to have you digest it a little more and make sure you're comfortable with it before we're asking you to make a recommendation. Yeah.
So
our steps
no
are-
action for today then,
I
right?
don't believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think our actions are presented to you tonight. At some point, we'll get this board to make a recommendation. We do have to have a public hearing. We do have to do some public notices and get communication to the county as well.
All right, very good. Anyone else have anything on this? Thanks, John. We're all good. All right, we can move to acceptance of application section. So we have review and consider for acceptance S01 2026, second revision to the Koski Plan of Lots, preliminary and final minor subdivision applications, parcel 256L2, 256L1, and these are zones C2. So this is Old Foremost?
This is the
Yeah,
foremost
okay.
property. As you may recall, these came through the township in 2023. There were 3 applications that accompanied this. There was a conditional use for the overall planned shopping center use in that area. There was the subdivision plan, which is item A, and there was the land development plan, which was item B. At that time, Planning Commission did recommend approval of all 3 applications. The board did subsequently approve all those applications. And then they went through some permitting, hurdles, if you will, with DEP and Conservation District. It's been relayed to us that recently they have gotten those permits. And in the meantime, they have revised their plans. The overall footprint of the project looks very similar to what you had approved at one point in time. But the noteworthy change is there's a large second floor square footage area added to the majority of the building, which increased the square footage from approximately 45,000 square feet to 58,000 square feet. So that change alone is going to have resultant changes with parking requirements and traffic study and things of that nature. So we had discussed this internally and felt the best process forward would be to bring this back through the Planning Commission, re-review those items with updated traffic impact studies and land development plans and subdivision plans and whatnot, and obviously bring it back through the board for an approval. So as far as the subdivision goes, all the required elements of the application have been submitted to reconsider that item. And I will jump to item B2. They have provided an updated traffic impact study. They provided an updated geotech. They provided the permits they need to get. We do need to still review this, obviously, and provide an updated letter based on these changes and have you consider it and ultimately have the board reconsider this as well. But as far as items relevant for acceptance, both applications provide the required content.
I just want to make sure I heard that right. They increased the amount of square footage, which means they're going to increase the amount of traffic that is going to be pouring onto Newberry Road, even though I remember explicitly having the discussion about hey, this traffic impact study is going to say exactly what you want it to say, which is it's great to go. But anybody that's down there right now knows exactly what's going on. So, but I guess we'll talk about that next month. Sorry, Tom, I'm just jumping ahead because I vividly remember. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of it.
All right, well, your comments were related to A and B, correct? Correct. So is there any other extent we want to get into this for today?
Not at an acceptance
Okay.
level.
Okay. And let's see. So I was just looking at the packet, and the first drawing that's in there, I'm going to flash it up here so I can make sure I'm saying the right thing.
And Tom, I will
This
expand on that.
is just showing what's there today, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
We did feel that the conditional use approval still stands for this. They've still got a few years left on that approval. The use is the use. Nothing has changed in that regard. Obviously, elements of the other two applications have changed.
Yeah.
So our intent was not bring them back through for conditional use, just so everyone's
Okay.
clear on that.
I was just going to say that at the end. Your point of saying that is we're not going to see that again.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Anyone else have any comments? So we're going to just, I don't think we need to table or do anything on these. We can just.
Motion to accept.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. These are acceptance.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yep. All right. So can we get a motion to accept item A?
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion and a second, Danny and Doug. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Acceptance of applications, item B. Do we have a motion to accept item B?
So moved.
Second.
Same, we got Danny and Doug. Motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. And we've got open discussion. We have anything for open discussion? Good. All right. Can we get a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.